Right now, these images are coming live from the International Space Station. You are looking currently at the west coast of America, heading down California towards the Baja Peninsula. And that is a beautiful, beautiful sight. San Diego's coming up. I'm doing a couple of 360s. Oh, you see the Baja Peninsula right down there as well. Stunning. And that is what we are here for. This is Live from Space, Lap of the Planet. Join us as we take you around the world on the trip of a lifetime. Welcome to Mission Control in Houston. Right now, astronaut Koichi Wakata is travelling at 17,500 miles an hour, 250 miles above the Earth. He's one of our guides for this extraordinary lap of the planet. And I'm happy to say we can speak to him now. Hello, Koichi. Hey, there he is. Hello, Koichi.
Hey, hello, Dermot. Hello. Welcome to the International Space Station. I'm in the Cupola module. Glad to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you, Koichi. And all of the UK is so happy. None more than me to tell us, we've got connection with you guys and you're here. We're going to have a proper chat with you later on, but you're the commander up there. If you don't mind, now we've seen your lovely face, can you turn it around and we can have a look at what you're looking at right now? And talk us through that.
Yeah, Dermot, we are just flying over to the west of San Diego area. And we are flying to the southeast along the coast of Baja.
Koichi, can you zoom in? Can we have a look at sort of how close you get?
Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little more.
Look at the solar panels up there. It's great stuff. Absolutely stunning. Now, the views must be astounding up there. How do you get any work done?
Yeah, it is just gorgeous, and we never get bored watching the beautiful home planet passing by underneath these beautiful windows of Cupola. Earth is so blue. It's a planet of water. It is just gorgeous.
And you're in the Cupola now. I know that's where you guys go to get the best shots. How have the views been today?
Well, the view is just magnificent. You can see the very thin atmosphere, and it's blue ocean, and mountains are beautiful. Snow-filled mountain peaks and clouds. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah. Koichi, do you have any favourite sights when you lap the Earth? I know you have the same kind of trajectory. It varies a little bit. Do you have any favourite sights that you like to see as you go over?
Yeah, Dermot, one of the most beautiful sights on the planet is the Bahamas. The blue color of the ocean there is really breathtaking, from a deep indigo to a turquoise blue, and it is just gorgeous.
And Koichi, today's obviously Sunday night. Do you get Sunday nights off? I mean, with us, we're sort of kind of getting ready for work on a Monday. What do you guys do on a Sunday?
Yeah, usually we spend some time to prepare for next week, Monday's work, and then after that we have a little time to watch the Uplink news programs, and then call my family, my wife and son, to have some updates from home.
Great. So it's kind of like how we spend Sunday. That's great. Koichi, they're just beautiful pictures, and we're going to get to know you over the next couple of hours. Thank you so much. Going to be back with you in just a minute. But I'm with our expert and guide astronaut, Mike Massimino. Mike, a man who certainly knows his onions from his asteroids, let me tell you. Mike, you've been into space many times now. What is it like up there, looking down onto your home planet? Do you ever get used to that?
No, in fact, watching here, just watching the video that we just saw, it brought back the memories of how beautiful it is. I'm glad we could share this with everybody. There's no words to describe it, but the thought I had, and the thought that I was reminded of, was when I really got to look at it and take it in from space. my impression was the thoughts were, you know, this is what the view from heaven would be like. If you could be in heaven, look at the planet, and then it was replaced by another thought just right after that was, no, it's more beautiful than that. This is what heaven must look like.
Yeah.
Our planet is like a paradise from space.
I mean, you're on the space shuttle.
Yeah, space shuttle.
Mission, so you're slightly higher.
Well, we were, yeah. So the space shuttle often went to the International Space Station, so we were in the same place. But on my flights, we went to the Hubble Space Telescope, so we were about 100 miles higher, got to see more of the curve of the planet.
So you could see, I mean, for example, the stuff we're looking at there, you'd be able to see almost even more of that.
Yeah, you could see more of the planet, more of the curvature, less detail from that altitude.
Wow, okay. I think Koichi is with us. Koichi, I've got Mas here. Mas, say hi to Koichi. You call Koichi the man, is that right?
Yes, Koichi, you are the man.
Yeah, Mas, great to hear your voice. I wish you were here with us.
I wish I was too, man. Looks like you guys are having a great time, but I got to tell you, I am here with some very special people in your life. I got to have lunch with Akio and with Steffi, and they told me to give you a message. They said they wanted to say hi, and they hope that you don't, you do a good job. Make sure you don't screw this up, they said.
Yeah, Mas, I'll do my best.
Okay, thank you. Can't believe you're dissing your friend, like, who's up in the ISS. Nice. All right, back in space in a few moments, but first, there's a whole universe out there, and we've got an awful lot to cram in tonight as we lap our planet. We'll take you into the mind of an astronaut.
It is a really rare new human experience to be away from the world in the universe.
We show you how they live.
How much I owe you? 2 tortillas. 2 tortillas?
What it takes to become an astronaut.
It's very, very physically demanding, very mentally demanding too.
We'll fly you over 4 continents and show you Britain from space. Professor Stephen Hawking will give you his vision for the future of the human race.
By the end of the century, I truly hope humans will be living on Mars.
This is your planet as you've never seen it before. It's going to be quite a trip. So much to see over the next couple of hours. We are currently off the coast of South America. We're going all the way around the planet. We are, like I said, we're over South America. We're going to go over the Andes, Africa, India, the oceans. We are going to see sunrises, sunsets, night, day, and hopefully not too many clouds. Koichi, what can you see right now for us?
Yeah, we're flying towards the south, and then we're going to the South America, and we can see the Andes from up here.
Wow, that's great stuff. Thanks, Koichi, and thanks, Andes. We're going to see you hopefully again in about 92 minutes. Koichi, would you mind heading to the lab now, because we're going to talk to you up there shortly. So, Mike, they're travelling at 17,500 miles an hour. When you're up there, are you aware you're going that fast?
Well, you can look out the window and realize that you're covering a lot of ground very quickly.
Yeah.
So, even we probably covered over 1,000 miles already. We've only been on the air a short time. So, mentally, yeah, your mind tells you, because you can see you're going, you're going a long distance very, very quickly. You're traveling fast, but you don't have that feeling. It's not like you're in a car going 17,000 miles, because you would definitely know that, right? You have no sensation because gravity's not there to tell you
obviously,
that.
does it feel like, it must be kind of almost like an oxymoron, because you're going so fast and yet it feels like
It's
quite sedate.
very peaceful, that's right. You can just sit back and listen to nothing or put some nice music in your ears and enjoy the view, but you don't have that, that rush of acceleration that you have if you're going fast on the ground from gravity. You don't have that in space, so it's very peaceful.
Okay, it's time to speak to, oh, lovely. Time to speak to Koichi's co-astronaut, Rick Mastriarco. Hello, Rick.
Hello, Dermot. Welcome to the International Space Station.
Oh, it's nice to have you with us. Rick, thank you so much. When did you apply to join the astronaut program yourself?
Well, actually, getting selected as an astronaut's not as easy as it sounds. I started applying many years ago, and it actually took me 9 years and 9 different applications before I was finally selected in 3 different interviews. But it paid off, because now I'm on my 4th mission to the International Space Station.
Absolutely. When you finally made it, I mean, obviously, it lived up to expectations, yeah?
Oh, absolutely. It went well beyond any expectations I had.
And Koichi, you're the commander of the ISS. Congratulations, the first Japanese commander. What does being commander actually mean?
Well, it's quite an honor and a big challenge for me, but I am humbled to take up this challenge. I'm so happy to be able to work with my very hardworking crewmates, Rick and Misha. And I think I got since I have a really talented and motivated crew, I got the easy part, just to make sure that they're eating fine and sleeping fine and just having fun up here. And I need to make sure that we have good communication with the flight control team. It's a wonderful team all over the world.
And does it mean you get to boss Rick around?
Yeah, I wish, but you know, we work together as an integrated team, and it's really a lot of fun to work with Rick and Misha.
And what's the reaction been like in Japan?
Actually, they really liked watching the change of command ceremony last Sunday, and I had a lot of feedback, and like to many international partners of the International Space Station program, to Japan it means a lot to have its own representative to have a chance to command the International Space Station.
No, I bet. Where exactly are you in the ISS right now, from where you're talking to us, and what do you do there?
Yeah, Dermot, right now we're in the U.S. laboratory. You know, the space station is made up of several different modules, including 4 different laboratories. We have a U.S. lab, we have a Japanese laboratory, we have a laboratory made by the European Space Agency, and then we have labs in the Russian side. Right here, you know, you can see we got a robotics workstation here. Behind camera, we have Robonaut. We have various experiments set up, and so basically this is where the science takes place in these laboratories.
Okay. And I know I've been watching you guys for the last, for the last few days. Of course, you do a lot of science, but I've seen a lot of pictures of you guys eating tortillas. You know, it's like currency up there. What have you got? What have you had for dinner tonight?
Well, you know, we just finished eating dinner. We ate a little early tonight. I had basically a lasagna with meat and a nice wheat bread and some pesto sauce on the side. So it was pretty good.
Like a microgravity 5-star hotel.
Actually, the space food up here is really good. Most of them are freeze-dried and thermal-stabilized food item. We rarely have fresh food, but the food is great here.
Okay, thank you, guys. Seeing you, going to be talking to you again in just a second. Thank you very much. I tell you what, they eat pretty well.
It's not bad.
It's the Italians. You've got Mastracchio,
no kidding.
Parmigiano.
That's it, yeah. So the food has to be good, or else they wouldn't go.
Okay, Rick and Koichi have been on the ISS now for over 4 months, but how did they get there in the first place? With the retirement of the space shuttle in 2011, they had to aboard a Russian rocket that's changed little in 47 years, launched from a part of the former Soviet Union. Take a look.
It's November 7th, 2:30 a.m., the launch morning.
Getting ready to suit up here, and then we're going to head out to the launch pad.
I am very thankful for my friends, family, and colleagues who provided us with all the help and support up to this point.
Goodbye for now, and we'll see you on orbit.
Joined by Russian cosmonaut Mikhail Shurin, after an alcohol rub-down, the astronauts are quarantined behind glass for their final family goodbyes.
He talks so much.
The crew of the Soyuz vehicle is ready for launch.
One minute. We are ready.
After almost 3 years of intensive training, Rick and Koichi's wait is over.
Inside
inside 10 seconds to launch.
Ignition.
Preliminary.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Intermediate.
And we had liftoff. Liftoff of the Soyuz rocket and the TMA-11M spacecraft, delivering 3 more crew members to the International Space Station.
140 seconds, everything is nominal. We copy you loud and clear, and everything's fine on board. Everything is nominal.
Soyuz continuing to accelerate rapidly toward orbital velocity.
At 30 miles up, the Stage 1 rocket boosters are jettisoned. Inside the spacecraft, you can see Rick on the right, Mikhail on the left, and that's Koichi with the window seat.
On board, the International Space Station crew has also reported they have the Soyuz in sight.
And we're standing by for switching to the final approach. And Rick, you know what to do?
Now orbiting at 17,500 miles per hour, the Soyuz spacecraft docks with the International Space Station.
The target is at the center of the field of view, half of a degree upward of the crosshair.
This is Fyodor Moore. We will be able to enter the station any moment now.
And hatches open between the Soyuz spacecraft and the International Space Station. Japanese astronaut Koichi Wakata also sharing a hug with Fyodor.
That's how they get there. We're currently passing over Chile into Argentina. I think we can just see a shot. Oh, wow, look at that. Mike, beautiful.
It is.
So Rick and Koichi, that is quite a journey to work. You've both been in space 4 times. Rick, what goes through your mind during takeoff? How do you prepare yourself for that?
Well, you know, Dermot, we trained for such a long time. It's almost 3 years of training, and we have these very high-fidelity simulators. So when you get into the real vehicle, you feel like you've been there hundreds and hundreds of times. It's a very familiar feeling. You're very comfortable. And since we have been training for such a long time, it's almost a relief that launch has finally come and the mission has finally started. So, of course, the ride is an incredible ride. It's very dynamic, and it's difficult to describe, but it's quite enjoyable.
Thanks, guys. We've just seen some shots there of high-altitude volcanoes over the Andes. There is some gravity up there, though. We have microgravity. So, Rick, what's it like going from gravity to microgravity?
Yeah, I mean, technically it's microgravity, but it's basically zero gravity as far as we can tell. You know, when you first get into orbit, basically, as soon as the main engine's cut off, you're in a zero-G environment, and everything kind of just seems to float up in your face. And when you're strapped into your seat, you can't really tell very much, but once you unstrap and you just float up, and you could tell right away that you're in a weightless environment, and it's an incredible feeling. The first time you feel it, it's just a blast.
Does it take long to adjust? So when you're up in the ISS, and you know we saw the picture there of you guys coming in, how long does it take for you for that to feel natural?
Well, space station is a huge volume, like it's a 1.5 size of the jumbo jet volume. So it takes a few days to get used to this microgravity environment and this environment inside of the space station. But the transition was very smooth, and like as if you move to a new house, and by introduction by our crew members. So the transition was really smooth.
And listen, I know that you guys obviously must enjoy that zero gravity sensation, as it were. And I don't want to treat you like performing seals, but I don't suppose, can we just see like is it a pinwheel demo I know you guys can do? Oh, not bad, Mastracchio. He's pretty nimble for a big guy, right, Mike?
They must have practiced. They look like the freestyle skiers and snowboarders we saw in the Olympics from Russia. They must have been watching.
All right, guys. Almost 50 years ago, the Apollo astronauts filmed the fragile beauty of the Earth from space for the first time. This image changed many people's perception of our home planet forever.
It is a really rare new human experience to be away from the world in the universe. Only a small handful of people have ever seen the world that way.
It's an experience they'll never forget.
That first time you see the Earth from the window of your spacecraft, I don't think anything really prepares you for that first time. It reminds you of where you are and how blessed to be there that you are, having that vision.
Earth is so beautiful from space that must be what heaven's like, because seeing that beauty is really just awe-inspiring.
The first word that comes to mind is humbling. It's such an incredible sight when you see the Earth illuminated in all its colors. It's overwhelming.
You see this line that defines the difference between nighttime and daytime slowly, clocking across the planet, and you're looking down at it. That's really an amazing thing to see.
Clouds are actually just amazing from space because you know that the atmosphere is alive.
Lightning storms from space are absolutely amazing. It looks like, paparazzi flashbulbs going off or strobe lights.
The Earth, it's constantly evolving, constantly changing. It's never the same, and to me, that's the definition of life.
The thing that really, really hit me was the thinness of the atmosphere. There's just like this paper-thin layer protecting every living thing on the planet from the harshness of space.
I don't think there's anybody who could look at their home planet from space and see how thin and fragile the atmosphere is and not understand how privileged we are to live there and how delicate the balances are that make it a good place for us to live, a habitable planet.
I've been around the world, I think, about 2,500 times. It gives an unusual perspective. I see the world as one place, and all of us join together in our level of responsibility and stewardship and impact to it.
There is nothing close. There's no nearby planet. There's no refuge. We are by ourselves, on our own, and this is the only place that we can call home right now.
Love that Hadfield line. I've been around the world 2,500 times.
Yeah.
Just dropped it.
Yeah, he's just showing off.
Let's go to the ISS. Obviously, we've got the sunset now, so we can't see much, but do you look like something from Star Wars? That's so cool.
He's really in space.
Do you have a favourite view?
Well, favorite view, obviously, the Aurora Borealis. It is amazing, this green color of the aurora. The constellation Orion rising from the aurora, that's an outstanding view, and together with the crescent moon, and it's just breathtaking.
Thank you, guys. We're back with you very soon. It's great to talk to you. Now, we know the ISS is 250 miles above the Earth in space, but what exactly is it, and how did it get there? It was first fired out of our atmosphere into less atmosphere 15 years ago, but how it came to be built in the first place is a fascinating story. Take a look. The building of ISS starts with a 4-decade battle of two superpowers, the Soviet Union versus the USA.
We shall send to the moon, 240,000 miles away, a giant rocket.
Both flew to the moon.
We can reach for greatness again.
Both created science labs in space.
We can follow our dreams to distant stars, living and working in space.
And both wanted more.
Tonight, I am directing NASA to develop a permanently manned space station and to do it within a decade.
But they were enemies. President Reagan even devised a plan to militarize space and protect America from Soviet attack. 10 years later, there was no space station and costs are prohibitive. But international relations have defrosted, and it's time to pool experience and resources.
The hidden challenge of space station, it's miraculous how these
partners came together with different engineering standards, different cultures, different ways of designing, and figured out a way to work together.
Each country builds a space module. Once joined, they will form the core of the station. Scale models are tested in a giant water tank in Houston. Astronauts practice assembling the parts. By 1998, they are ready. The Russians are first with the module Zaya.
All systems reported to be ready for the launch of the Proton rocket. Centerpiece of Russia's contribution to the International Space Station, setting the stage for permanent human presence in space.
2 weeks later, an America's module Unity is blasted up with the Space Shuttle Endeavour. Despite all the work on Earth, these two vital multi-million-dollar modules have never met.
We don't have 100% assurance that it's actually going to go work. It all looks good on the drawing board, it all looks good in test, but that proof is when those two components come together on orbit and you say, hey, it really works, or ooh.
The joining of Unity and Zaya is a symbol of the collaboration between old enemies. They interlock. First time.
Weak copy. Congratulations to the crew of the good ship Endeavour. That's terrific.
This cements the future of the relationship and creates the nucleus of ISS. 2 years later, US astronaut Bill Shepard and 2 Russian cosmonauts are the first to live here. But it takes 13 years, 37 shuttle missions, 92 Russian flights, 174 spacewalks, and additions from Japan, Europe, and Canada before the international collaboration is complete.
So when you look at that shot, you just get vast. Vast.
Yes.
What a feat of engineering and what a feat of cooperation as well.
It's incredible. Remember when I started, Rick and I were both in the same astronaut class a couple years after Koichi started, and we were just planning the building of the space station. And I remember seeing what they planned to do, getting the briefings, the classes about what was going to happen, and all the spacewalks. We had some experience, but nowhere near the experience we were going to need to spacewalk and put it together. And all the pieces built in different parts of the world were going to have to fit together. And in the back of my mind, I was saying, nah, this is no way this thing's going to work, but it should be fun anyway. But look at it now. All these countries have come together and everything works just great. And we have this wonderful laboratory in space.
What's incredible is how they both got up there as well. So the American section is kind of different to the Russian section in that, what went up on the space shuttle has to be a bit more compact, I was finding out the other day. And yet, when they met and when they fitted together, it was extraordinary.
It all worked. I can't even put together stuff in my house. I'm lucky thinking I can get a drawer and nothing, but in space they were all able to work it out. It's great.
We are going to lose signal from the ISS shortly. Don't panic. This happens all the time, right?
It does, absolutely. So we have different satellites that we switch from one to the other, and sometimes there's a little dropout in between.
So on every orbit they lose signal?
That's correct.
Okay, sounds like fun.
It can be, because it gives people on the ground a break.
And up there as well, I suppose.
A little bit of a break up there as well. Yeah, they don't notice it as much. It's more of an issue on the ground, though.
Before we do, we'll go up there right again. Hello, guys. Okay, very strong, nice. Showboating, I see. Wonderful. Now, can you explain what Node 2 is? And I know that this is I think this is where you guys live, right? Are you in your bedroom?
Yeah, exactly. In Node 2, we have 4 crew quarters, and then we have 2 more in the Russian service module, so for the 6 crew members. And basically, you can see we have the 4 crew quarters, 1 on the deck, 1 on the ceiling. I'm actually hanging from the ceiling right now, and then port and starboard. Pretty simply, we just simply hang a sleeping bag on the wall and sleep in. There's no problem. There's no up and down in space, so you can sleep any orientation up.
I think we're about to. And that's it. That's how it works, right?
That's it. We just lost a signal.
I wanted to see Koichi's room.
Maybe he can show it to us later.
That's not fair.
Maybe it was dirty and he did it on purpose. He didn't get a chance to tidy up.
We've lost signal to the ISS, so it's an opportune time to pop down to Mission Control floor and meet one of the voices of Mission Control. Before that, right now, we've just been over South Africa, so here's some beautiful shots of Cape Town taken by Rick and Koichi on a previous orbit. Take a look.
Here we are coming around South Africa, southern tip of Africa. I believe you can see Cape Town down there.
So now on the hallowed turf, to be honest with you. We were down here on the show on Thursday night, and it's a pretty extraordinary place to be. It's a very humbling place to be. The floor of Mission Control. We're going to hook up with the astronaut who's the link between the people down here and the people up there, Rick and Koichi. It's a role known as Capcom, and she is Katie Coleman. Hey, Katie, how are you? Good to see you again.
See you.
So, Katie, explain to me, firstly, just what exactly Capcom stands for. What is it?
Let me just call the crew real quick.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Station Houston, we've got you back after a short handover, and we'll be back with you in about 12 minutes with good KU. Okay. Sorry.
No,
so that's what we do, actually.
That was awesome. I don't even know what you were saying, but it was awesome. What's KU?
So,
when you said
they're
that,
still asking stuff.
No, go for it. Don't mind.
And we're looking at where you're going to pick up.
This is great.
So we're sort of doing, what I do is go from this room, basically, to tell them.
So they can still, so even though we've just got signal loss, unless they were playing a terrible practical joke on us.
There's video signal loss and there's voice.
I see. So you can
we
always
lost
speak to
both for like a minute.
Yeah.
And then we got the voice back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now video will be gone
for will be gone
for a while.
Right. Right.
So can they talk to you now?
So I can talk. So they can talk to us, and they were just saying, "Hey, when's our next thing? Is it still on time? You know, to understand when to interface with you guys."
Sure. Lovely.
Yeah.
So listen, Capcom, obviously, I mean, you've just shown me what it is. It's a
well, you know, it's a giant
the exact
communication
role.
kind of thing. Capcom stands for Capsule Communicator. It's from the Apollo days. And literally, we're the interface between the folks on board and the folks in Mission Control here. Many times an astronaut would have this job, like myself. I lived on the space station for 6 months.
Yeah.
And so, you know, sometimes it just helps to be able to add a little tone of voice that lets them know that you really understand, you know, what they're going through up there.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Do you think having been, well, you are an astronaut, you know, you may well go up again. Does that really help in terms of sort of, you know, on the day-to-day level?
I think it's all about the communication, and it's really easy for us not to understand them and vice versa, and for it to become kind of us and them, and a little bit like, what do they want? Why do they ask that? And so down here on the ground, I can help everybody understand, hey, you know, it takes a long time to do that. They have to undo all those wires. That's why they haven't called.
Sure.
So it's like it's a nice interface.
You are vital. It's you two, really, isn't it? It's you and Emily over there. Is that our flight director?
Emily's the flight director. And so she's in charge of the whole shebang.
She looks busy. But I can't talk to her. Okay. Thank you so much. When we come back, we'll find out how you can see the ISS for yourself, how true-to-life gravity really was, and we'll see one of the Earth's most devastating events, how it looked like from space. But right now, here's some shots of Egypt that Rick and Koichi took for us on a previous orbit. We'll see you shortly.
So beautiful.
Okay, so this is the Nile coming up, right?
Yeah, this is Nile, this big green one.
So you got a great shot of the Nile.
Very clear over.
Beautiful day today.
Yeah.
So here we got coming up on the
yeah, this is the Red Sea. Yeah. And that Suez Canal over there, you can probably point at.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So Red Sea, and then just to the east of Cairo, Suez Canal, very thin. But you can see that.
Now, incredibly, the ISS is the third brightest object in the sky, after obviously the sun and the moon. But I've never seen it, so I'm very excited that tonight we come to London and St Paul's, in particular, with a bunch of locals, and we're going to see it for the very first time. The ISS will take just 3 minutes to pass over us, so eyes are peeled to catch the first glimpse.
Is that it? There? Yeah, that's it. There. Up there. Yeah. Wow, Jesse! Can you see it? Jesse,
it's really going
fast. It's so fast. Hey, astronauts!
And as we were filming them, they were filming us.
Yeah, that's London. That's the London area right there.
Yeah, it's still visible. Yeah.
Definitely try and see it if you can on a clear day. It's quite stunning. More images of the UK coming up. Here's Cornwall. On your screen, north is to the bottom right. You can see Land's End, the UK's most southwesterly point. Falmouth is on the left, and that's Newquay on the right. This is Plymouth. You can see Salcombe sticking out there. There's Torquay, and just inland is Exeter. Weymouth's coming up now on the left-hand side. That's the Isle of Wight and Portsmouth creeping into shot. There's Brighton and Eastbourne. And that's Dover and Calais. And then we are off towards France and Holland. That's just great. This looks stunning.
It's hard not to look. We get a little carried away in here, too.
No, how'd you get anything done? We just crossed the equator, Katie. That was a good thing.
It's true. It's going to happen again and again and again for those guys.
I'm back with Katie Coleman. So, Katie, we have to talk gravity. How did you advised on gravity? You advised Sandra Bullock, right?
You know, a tiny bit. My brother met her brother-in-law, and they put us together.
Serendipity.
And so we talked a few times about, you know, what it's like up there and how to move and how easily, you know, even just using a single hair, you could push yourself off of things. It's that simple and sort of effortless to move up there.
But what I love is that you can't call her, right?
No, so I have to call her because
Yes.
she can't call me.
So no one calls the ISS.
I have her phone number, and the guys wanted that, but I did not give it to
So
them.
you're up there with, what, 5 other guys?
I was. They thought
Yeah.
it was totally unfair. They go, we have only you. You have Sandra.
Listen, being an astronaut, obviously, you see how glamorous this is, and for us at least at home, and just how wonderful it is. But, you know, the risks involved are huge. So what is it? What is it about doing it?
What we do up there, the research that we do, is actually just so important. And that's why you do it.
Do you
Just
feel that
because
when you're up?
What we're doing up there is going to change our life here on the Earth as we know it. And the science and the research. And even it's going to pave our way to Mars. And when you're a part of that, and everybody here is a part of that, not just the astronauts, but everybody here is a part of that as well. And it's a mission and it's a passion.
Okay. Well, it's a dangerous job. Let's take a look at how dangerous it really is. Well, NASA estimates there are 6,000 tons of space junk orbiting Earth right now. That junk includes pieces of satellite shrapnel, old rockets, and even drop wrenches. All traveling at 10 times the speed of a bullet, and all could spell disaster for the space station. Using radar, the US Air Force tracks all the junk large enough to be dangerous. In reality, for its safety, a virtual box nicknamed the Pizza Box, 2 miles deep and 10 miles square, surrounds the space station. If any flying junk is predicted to whiz through this box, NASA gets a call right away.
140 times this year, the Air Force tracking station actually have made that initial call here to Mission Control.
Lark Howarth must predict whether this junk is likely to hit. If a collision looks imminent, Mission Control blasts the station to safety by firing the engines of the Russian resupply modules. But even with all the precautions, some junk slips through. This is exactly what happened 2 years ago. Mission Control sees a piece of junk late. Commander Dan Burbank can't sleep.
I called down to the flight director and talked to him, and and it turns out the debris is not getting further away from us, or it's actually going to be a problem.
It's a dead Russian satellite, and there's no time to blast the station out of harm's way. Mission Control orders a crew evacuation to the Soyuz modules, the space station's lifeboats.
Dan, we're going to step into our procedures as we go, and as you all move towards the safe haven and sheltering in Soyuz.
Okay, copy that.
It's the only way out.
All the USOS hatches are closed, and we're all in the Russian segment.
All the crew can do now is wait.
We're going to watch our watches, and we're going to hope there's no loud noise and anything else that may make us have to get out of Dodge in a hurry.
If the debris hits, they will have to undock and abandon the space station. Thankfully, it's a miss.
Sense of relief, a few high fives, and time to get back to work.
Thanks for all the hard work and for having our back, as you always do.
And NASA have upgraded that system recently so that close shave wouldn't happen again. Mike, were you ever scared up there?
Up there, no. But for launch, yeah. It kind of hit me. Well, you're gonna get inside of that rocket. It doesn't look very friendly when you get up to it. But once you get up there, you're busy working and thinking about stuff that might happen to you. If something comes up, you'll deal with it. But no, and it wasn't scary.
Is it kind of like normal people would get, you know, that are a bit scared of flying on the takeoff and the landing? They're the two most scary.
I think that's a great example. You know, when you think about it, when's the chance of you getting hurt? Well, you know, the launch, landing, and spacewalks. That's when you always want to be careful, but that's when you really want to be most careful and make sure you're in good coordination with the ground and with your crew to make sure everything's done so everybody will be okay.
But there's so much junk up there. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, it's amazing how much there is. A lot of it is natural debris, you know, from micrometeorites, and some of it is unfortunately human-made as well, from satellite pieces that are up there, and it's growing. So it's something that the team tracks here, and if they need to, they can do a maneuver to get away from it. They become really good at that.
Aside from your obvious favourites, you know, the stuff you always look at, do you ever look down and get surprised by anything when you look down?
Yeah, you know, so, like for example, shooting stars. You know, micrometeorites coming in. If you've ever been lucky enough to see one of those on Earth when it's really dark in a remote area, you might catch one coming in the night sky. They still do that while you're in space, except the difference is you see them coming in below you. So you see shooting stars coming into the planet below you. You see them, they're bright, you know, burning up in the atmosphere as they enter. It's unbelievable.
Because that's the thing, we always think about looking down, but of course you're looking out there.
Right, it's unbelievable. You see it coming in like that. Things like that, or lightning storms at night. Yeah. It's like a fireworks display. We talked about fireworks, real fireworks before. Could you see them? But lightning almost takes the place of that in a much better way. It's just the cloud coverage. It could be dark at night, and then you see all the clouds being lit up from lightning strikes in a large area.
We have just got signal back, speaking to the guys very soon. Most of the time, looking down on Earth is a beautiful experience, but sometimes it can be the exact opposite.
It's 2001, and the third expedition to the International Space Station. Frank Culbertson is the sole American astronaut on board. And today is the day for the crew's routine medical checkups.
It was my job to call that down to the ground. And so I called, and I said, "Hey, Steve, how's it going?" And Dr. Hart said, "Well, Frank, we're not having a very good day down here on Earth."
It's the 11th of September.
I had no clue of what was really going on. And he began to describe to me what had happened with the World Trade Center, the plane that had crashed into the Pentagon, and then as we were talking, he said, "Another plane has just crashed in Pennsylvania. We don't know what that's all about." I raced around and found a video camera and a window facing in the right direction. The weather was perfectly clear that day. I could easily see New York City, a big black column of smoke coming out of the city. And as I zoomed in with the video camera, I could see this big gray blob enveloping southern Manhattan. What we were seeing was the second tower come down.
We could see New York City and the smoke from the fires. Our prayers and thoughts go out to all the people there and everywhere else. Here I'm looking up and down the East Coast to see if I can see anything else.
It is an isolated feeling to know that you can't be with your loved ones to make sure they're safe. NASA did arrange a phone call with my wife that evening. It felt good to talk to her and know she was okay and the kids were okay. But it did bring home to me how far away we were.
I just wanted the folks in New York to know that their city still looks very beautiful from space. I know it's very difficult for everybody in America right now. And I know folks are struggling very hard to deal with this and recover from it. But the country still looks good, and for New Yorkers, your city still looks great from up here.
The next day, I got a call from the ground. And he said, "Frank, I've got some bad news." Turned out that the captain of American Airlines Flight 77 that had crashed into the Pentagon was a friend of mine, Chick Burlingame. This is Captain Frank Culbertson, United States Navy retired, the commander of the 3rd expedition to the International Space Station. He and I had both been in the Drum and Bugle Corps together. I would like to remember our classmate, Chick Burlingame, the captain of American Airlines flight that, of course, crashed into the Pentagon. I was going to send a message down from space anyway for my classmates. TAPS is a bugle call that is played at the end of every day in the military, which means it's time to go to bed and turn the lights out. It's just a name for the end of the day. And it's sort of like the final farewell.
Welcome back to Live from Space, Lap of the Planet. We're just about an hour into our Lap of the Planet with the International Space Station. The orbital sunrise is happening, so we can just take a look at that. We have the Earth sunrise as well.
Beautiful. To look at, I mean, that's spectacular.
Something else, right? Yeah. The signal is back as well, so we can go up to the ISS. Koichi, you're in the cupola. What can you see?
Yeah, Dermot, we're flying over the Kamchatka. You can see the beautiful volcanoes covered with snow over here.
That is stunning. Can you zoom in on a couple of those for us at all?
Yeah, you can see those volcanoes, and sometimes you can see the volcanic activities, but today I don't see any puffs coming out.
That is great. Koichi, I know that we're going to be pretty close to Japan, your home country. Do you get to see many great views of Japan up there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I took a first sunrise of 2014 and then tweeted it, and they really liked it. And it's always great to see my home country, and I feel so attached to it. But, you know, we fly around the Earth 16 times a day. It didn't take long before I started to feel the same attachment to the entire Earth as our home.
Well, that's good. For a second, I thought you said you're going to get bored of it, so I'm so glad of that. And what have you guys been doing since we've been away?
Well, we were prepping for the next scene and then enjoying this view here. And Rick, Misha, and I are ready for all the activities that you're going to give us next.
All right, getting used to the showbiz lifestyle. I like your style. All right, the guys recently tried to film some shots of the UK for us, but they had a couple of problems. And as you can imagine, being from the UK, they weren't technical. Take a look.
We're going to be passing just across the southern coast of Ireland into the Bristol Channel and then east to right over London. It's supposed to be pretty cloudy, except the channel may be clear and London itself might be clear, so we'll see. There's the Strait of Dover. see all the runoff. Yeah, let's go overhead. It's coming into view. Yeah, see, London's in that. See that area right there, kind of
where that bay is.
The bay is, yeah, that's London. Let's see if we can actually see anything in London.
Okay, so here we go. This is for you, Mike. We've got the Millennium Dome there.
You can give me a little geography lesson. All right.
There's our River Thames. You can see it looks dirty, but it's not. It's very clean.
Can you see your house?
There, the docks. You know, it wouldn't be that. It's just a bit north of there. Right. And then this comes out all the way here, and on the north, which would be to the right, we have Essex, and then to the south, we have Kent. As you can just see, there's the what they call the Isle of Thanet, just at the very end of Kent. I think we're just going to get into that right there, and then. This is what I love. Then you zoom out and then suddenly you see Cherbourg.
Has your home country ever looked so beautiful?
No, it really hasn't. And then there's France and all the way up to the Netherlands. Great stuff. We head back now to the ISS. Rick Mastracchio is up there filming for us. Hello, Rick. What do you see? What do you know?
Hey, Dermot. Yeah, welcome back. Yeah, right now we're just south of the Aleutian Islands. We're turning to the southeast at this point, and basically we're going to parallel the west coast of the United States, probably about halfway between Hawaii and the west coast. So right now, there's not much out there except ocean and clouds.
Rick, I know that when I saw the show earlier on in the week, the documentary you guys did for us, you said you're pretty much, when in doubt, you just say, I'm always over the Pacific. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a joke I have with my wife. Whenever she asks me, hey, where are you guys flying right now? I say, yeah, probably over the Pacific Ocean. It is such a huge place that seems like we spend 75% of our time over the Pacific.
And can you just show us the actual cupola itself? Could you mind just showing us around? Because this is specifically where you guys can go and look at the Earth, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. Stand by.
That was so astronaut, wasn't it, Mike?
Yes.
Stand by. Okay, I'll stand by.
That's official. Yeah, standing by.
Am I getting the official spiel there? So is it a nice kind of roomy place? Because are we now? There we go. We're sort of up. Oh, that's nice. That's sort of Star Wars-esque, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah, you can see the. Yeah, you can see the cupola. It's got the overhead window, and then it's got the 6 side windows, and it's an incredible view of the Earth. It gives us a full 360-degree view all the way around.
Just wonderful.
Hey, Rick, your son David has tweeted from Minot, North Dakota, saying he'd love to see his dad say hello from space.
Can we manage that?
Can you do that for him?
You bet. Hey, David, hopefully you're staying warm out in Minot.
That's great. Now, we didn't hear from the other kids, but I'm sure they would like a hello, too.
Oh, yeah, and a hello to Michael and Lisa also.
And don't forget Candy while we're there. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I asked Candy if she had anything to say.
I don't. What can I say to him? You know, I talk to him on a daily basis. Luckily, up here we have phone, we have email, and so we definitely I spend more time talking to my kids when I'm up here than when I do at home.
I think that's why when I asked Candy if she had anything, I saw her today. I said, "You got anything you want me to tell Rick?" And she said, "Oh, no, I'll just talk to him later."
Yeah, we already spent about an hour this morning talking.
Oh, that's great. Okay, guys, thank you. Now, humans have only recently been able to look down on our planet. So it's only recently we've been able to see the changes that have taken place. Take a look.
I served as an astronaut as long as just about anybody ever has, more than 2 decades. On my first flight in '95, the Aral Sea, just beside Kazakhstan, was still mostly full of water. By the time I flew in 2012, 2013, it was gone. And it's completely our own fault. We did that deliberately as a species. We chose to dry up and obliterate the 4th largest sea on Earth, and that's visible from space.
One of the changes I noticed between 2002 and 2012 is the magnitude of city lights at night. You can see significant changes in the number of light bulbs that we as human beings are spreading out over the surface of Earth, particularly in underdeveloped countries. Their nighttime skies are getting illuminated by light bulbs just like they are in the countries that are industrialized.
Over the years, I did see changes between my first flight and my most recent one. Saw other areas that had built up in population and were starting to get polluted. I think it's important that we have that vantage point of humans in space to look at it from above.
Everybody has to recognize that it's not someone else's problem, but that it's everyone's problem.
These obviously raise big questions about our planet and its future, so we decided to put Rick and Koichi together with the world's most famous scientist, Professor Stephen Hawking, to discuss the issue, although to be honest, we're not entirely sure who is more excited to meet whom. Take a look.
Hi, Professor Hawking. It's amazing to know you're watching and thinking about us up here on the International Space Station. We'd love to have you up here. Would traveling into low Earth orbit interest you?
In 2007, I was lucky enough to experience microgravity on a zero-G flight. I was Superman for those few minutes. I can only imagine what it's like for you, Rick and Koichi. If you can persuade the Russians to let me on the Soyuz, I'd be up there with you before you could say kryptonite.
You've been quoted as saying humanity won't survive without escaping our fragile planet. What are your primary concerns?
I fear for our future. Our planet, Earth, is threatened with an ever-expanding population and only finite resources. There is always a chance of an asteroid hitting Earth. Not even Bruce Willis could save us, then. We need to anticipate these disasters and have a plan B. If our species is to survive, it is imperative we voyage out into the blackness of space with a determination to colonize new worlds across the cosmos.
Mike, when you go up there, when you went up there in the shuttle, do you feel like a modern-day explorer?
I
You're like
think
Christopher
so.
Columbus out there.
Well, the Christopher Columbus thing is kind of interesting because a couple of years ago, the Italian-American Society in the United States did a thing on Italian explorers, and apparently there's been a bit of a gap between the Renaissance and now, because they had like Marco Polo, Christopher Columbus, Vasco da Gama, and then he had like me, so all the other guys were like just etches, drawings of what they looked like with their fancy headgear, and then he had me in my astronaut outfit. But in some ways, yeah, I think so. It's the final frontier. We still have a lot to explore on the Earth, a lot to explore in the oceans. And now we're really just starting out exploring, even though it seems like we've been doing it a long time, 50 years really isn't that much. And so we're starting to explore space, and we're able to partake in that.
And we spoke earlier on about the fact, when you sat there in your first day of astronaut school, or whatever, you're thinking, what, they're going to go to the ISS? Do you envisage that the space program would come this far?
No, that was one thing we talked about that earlier. And now where we are is a much different place than that time. 18 years ago when Rick and I started as new astronauts. We're now looking at a commercial partnership with companies that can get us to the space station from U.S. soil, and we're looking beyond that to go and explore beyond low Earth orbit now. That's where the NASA's putting their efforts to go to Mars, to go beyond low Earth orbit, and I think there's lots of exciting things to come.
Well, the guys are doing so much up there as well. We're going back to the ISS now. Rick and Koichi, experiment-wise, science-wise, what are we going to do? What have you got there?
Hey, Dermot, we're in the Japanese module now, and this experiment is called the Spheres. Actually, these are satellites, satellite robots. And these are designed specifically to work in a microgravity environment. Now you can see this blue satellite going around the red satellite. And scientists are testing this new software and in development. And hopefully in the future, these will be able to work outside of the space station and then do some repair work, inspection that normally astronauts can do. So these free-flying objects will help us on the space station and other vehicles.
But that means you won't be able to do spacewalks.
That's a good question, and I think we will be doing a lot of more complicated tasks.
Oh, nice get out. Okay, what else have you got up there for us in the lab? Anything else you can show us?
Yeah, Dermot, you know, we do a lot of different scientific experiments up here that require various types of samples. So over here we have a Melfi. It's basically a minus 80-degree freezer. And you can imagine we got samples of all kinds in here. A lot of the experiments, of course, are done on us. We are the guinea pigs. So we take blood samples, we take urine samples, and we have to put them in this freezer and save these samples until we get a vehicle that could take them down back to Earth, where the scientists could then analyze the samples.
And, you know, I don't want to sound too crude, but I read that you had, like, mouse sperm up there. Is that right?
Well, I can tell you, we got all kinds of things in here. I can't name everything that's in here. One of the things that's interesting that Koichi's showing you is we're working on antibiotics for various types of bacteria, because, you know, bacteria up here is more virulent than it is on Earth. In zero-G, it just seems to get stronger for some reason. So we're trying to develop antibiotics to try to fight these superbugs, and, of course, that has direct application on the Earth.
Sure. I don't want to sound like your mothers, but be careful up there, all right, with that? All right. While they're in space, the astronauts have got an awful lot of experiments to do, as we saw. So much so NASA has set up a whole other mission control to monitor them in Huntsville, Alabama.
Every bit of science that happens on board the International Space Station is controlled from here. We run 24/7, 365 days a year.
Rick and Koichi will perform up to 300 experiments during the 6-month mission. Making sure everything is done on schedule requires careful and precise planning.
So this is the timeline here. The little red line is constantly moving to the right across the screen. Everything to the left is supposed to have been completed, and then everything to the right is yet to come.
Koichi is close to finishing an experiment, but running over.
It's stop in the middle position.
We copy that. Thanks so much.
This delays the start of Rick's experiment and potentially the whole schedule.
And Koichi, it doesn't have to go all the way back. There's a little bit of tension there. And so as long as you go to where you stop, where you just can't push anymore, you should be fine.
Copy that.
Finally, Koichi has completed his tasks. And it's Rick's turn to get to work.
Going up on 2.
Time to work on, we're going to do a sample exchange on the MSL.
This is a completely unique environment to be able to do this in the environment of microgravity. That helps them understand how it works and helps them create better things for us here on Earth.
Wow. Currently we are off the west coast of Central America. We're going back up to the ISS now. You guys, you've got a robot up there. Lovely. This could be the nurse of the future, is that right?
Yeah, exactly, Dermot. Here we are in the Lab Destiny, and then this is Robonaut. As you can see, this is a humanoid robot, and you can see he has 2 arms and like human hands. And right now, engineers are testing a lot of tasks using the Robonaut. And right now, we're testing relatively simple tasks, like as Rick is showing, this task board, pushing the switches and buttons. But hopefully in the future, Robonaut will be able to go outside and do like a spacewalks, and it would be great if we can go out to space with him as a buddy.
Okay, stop talking yourself out of a job, boys. And Koichi.
Yeah, he looks really nice, and then so.
Sorry, Koichi.
Yeah, this is really like a human, so we can use.
He'll start up. Oh man, it's my fault. Koichi, would you ever get injected by one of these yourself? If you know, looking at this nurse.
Yeah, Dermot, that's a good question. First, I'm gonna give him a very tough test, and if he passes well, I will let him do so.
Wow. All right. We've just got some shots of him doing that as well.
Rick says I have to go first.
You're the commander. You're the commander, Koichi. You can make him go first.
Exactly. Rick will be first.
We have been in the air roughly about 104 minutes, which is almost the time it takes the ISS to complete a lap of the world, and that's what we have done. Take a look. earlier, we saw astronaut Mike Hopkins with Rick and Koichi on the ISS, but as we know, what goes up must come down. He landed a few days ago, and compared to the smoothness of the journey to the ISS, astronauts described the return to Earth as a controlled car crash. Here's Mike's journey, literally.
Олег, когда будем отходить от станции, выпуск. Oleg, when we're... Есть отхождение. Есть отхождение.
Have separation. 30235.
And physical separation confirmed.
Copy. Looking good.
Okay. Good again. Thanks, Oleg. Thanks for getting me home.
Look at that smile, and you still got it on him. He's here with us now. Mike, great to have you with us.
Dermot, it is great to be here.
Such a pleasure to meet you. Just having watched you over, the last couple of months or whatever, and now seeing you coming down, it's just absolutely brilliant. How are you feeling? Obviously, you've only been down a few days.
Yeah, I feel absolutely great. The program that we have on board, the exercise program to prepare us for coming back to 1G is fantastic, and then the folks that we have here on the ground that help us out once we get here. And I'm feeling great.
When I first met Mike, he said to me, "Hey, listen, you don't need to worry about Hopper. He's a beast." And he is. Look at the size of it.
Is he going to be able to walk? Don't worry about it. He can carry those guys off of the so he can carry the guys that were getting them.
Listen, the signal's about to go, and I know the guys want to speak to you. So I just want to say before, thank you, Rick and Koichi and the Russian cosmonaut Mikhail, for sharing us with your lives over the last 5 days. Incredible insight you've given us of what it is to work and live in space. But we're going to stay with you for as long as we can and reunite you with your members, crew members on the ISS. Rick and Koichi, what do you want to say to this guy?
Hey, Mike, great to hear your voice, and we're so happy to see you're safely back with your family on the ground. And it's been really quiet here, and we miss you a lot, and we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple months.
Yeah, Dermot, like Mike Massimino said, Mike Hopkins, I call him the world's strongest astronaut. Not only is he the world's strongest astronaut, but he's also the hardest working. So, once he left, we really had to pick up the slack. So we really miss him up here, but I think he's going to be up here real soon.
What do you want to say?
Yeah, well, I just want to say it's great to see the guys. I tell you, this has been actually kind of hard for me because I was just there. And so to see you guys up there floating around, I feel like I should be there with you. I do have to say, though, I did have a pretty good meal last night. We had some barbecue over at the house, so sorry I missed the tortillas, but the barbecue was pretty good.
Well, Mike, don't worry about it. I think you're going to be up here again real soon, so no problem there, bud.
The one thing, having just met Mike, chaps, that strikes me is he's quite a big chap. So is it kind of, in a weird way, is it nice now he's back so you get a bit more room, a bit more space?
Well, yeah, we get a little more time on the exercise equipment, that's for sure.
Now listen, Mike, you didn't wear shoes up there. Was it kind of strange coming back and walking? Because it was interesting watching them take you out of the Soyuz, and you lose the ability to walk for a very short period of time.
Yeah, in fact, my legs have actually been sore the past few days because even as much exercise as we talk about doing up there, there's still parts of your body that you don't just use until you get back down here in 1G, and I have to say the backside's a little sore too, sitting for long periods of time.
And even something as mundane as actually wearing shoes, because you don't wear shoes up there.
That's right, yeah. Well, we wear the shoes when we're exercising, but for most of the time, for the other 20, 22 hours of the day, yeah, you're just in your sock feet, and so you do kind of build up some calluses and stuff on the top of your feet.
Listen, we're going to lose contact with these guys very soon. It's the last time we're going to be able to see them. So I just want to say, guys, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to share your life for the last week or so on the space season, and it's just given us a great insight, and it's very humbling. So thank you so much.
It was a pleasure being with you. Thank you, Dermot.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. So listen, let's talk about you. What's it like for you? What's it like when gravity first hits you when you come down?
Yeah, it was a little surprising that just how heavy everything felt. So when you're still in the capsule, once you hit down, you're kind of, you're in your seat, you're kind of cushioned, but then you have to get out. And so moving to where the guys could help me get out was very hard.
Can you enjoy the descent? Oh. Is it something? Look at his face. Is it something you can enjoy? Because let's see. There's pictures again. This is the picture. This is not your descent. This is a descent.
Right.
And I mean.
Yeah, so this is actually right after separation. So right before you come in the atmosphere, the pieces of the capsule separate, and so right now there's a little bit of buffing, but there's this orange glow as you're re-entering, and so it's not too wild of a ride at this point, but it's when that main chute opens that things really get exciting.
How'd you feel about seeing that, Mike? Because remember, with the shuttle, the tail would glow red hot, and you know what's going on out there. Did it kind of, maybe I don't want to look at this for too long?
It's kind of interesting because in some sense, it's almost like the sunrise, right? It's that kind of brightness. And so at first, when it first started happening, I almost thought that, well, did we just come into the sun, or we just see the sunrise? And then I realized, oh no, we're burning up in the atmosphere.
Wow. And then the actual landing itself, I mean, they say it's like a car crash or a train wreck.
It definitely got your attention. There's these soft landing jets that fire right before about 3 meters above the ground. And so there's that bang, and then there's the definite contact as you hit the ground, and you know you're home.
And after that, when you go through the atmosphere and so forth, and can you see out the window? Can you see the fact that you're free falling down to it?
You can eventually. Because you have kind of that burning on the windows, and then that eventually you can see through them again. But most of the time, you're kind of just focused right there in front of you at your panel as you're watching everything as it comes down, and see how making sure everything's happening the way it's supposed to.
So Hopper, you're away from your family for 5.5 months. I mean, how difficult is that? Obviously the families have to make a big sacrifice themselves, because all the training too, as Mike was saying.
Yeah, it's. I think the hardest part is realizing that I've had to leave them behind, and my wife has had to pick up the load. We have 2 very active sons in both sports and school and church, and she was having to manage all of that by herself, getting to all those places, and so that made it hard. But at the same time, she did an unbelievable job. And as Rick and Koichi said, we do get to talk to our families quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so that helps.
Listen, I shouldn't worry too much. I imagine that load's going to get doubled now you're back.
She already told me that.
He's going to enjoy it, though. That's what he wants. It's going to be good.
But the lovely thing now, and and the sort of the advent of Skype and whatnot, is there is contact with them, which kind of must be vital up there. I remember we saw this the other day, which is such a nice shot. And this is you watching one of your sons playing ice hockey from space.
Yep. He's center. He's racing on ice right now.
So, I mean, that must be... I mean, how's that for you? Because, I mean, obviously the picture must be a bit shaky, but you're still able, from 250 miles above the Earth, you're still able to watch your son play ice hockey. And he scores a goal.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. It's funny because, the quality of the image from that distance wasn't the best, but, when you've watched your kids play sports, you can kind of pick them out. You know how they move and everything like that. So I was able to follow it, and that probably happened maybe 3 or 4 times where I actually got to, the timing worked out where I got to watch a hockey game from up there.
And if you're up there for 6 months, that development of technology now must be such that, I mean, that's a game changer, right?
It is. It absolutely is, because you still feel like you're a part of the family, and you're getting to participate with them, and you're getting to see it, and you're getting to be excited with them, as you can see when neat things happen.
Sure. We have a still as well, I think, of your family right now. Where was this taken?
So this was taken actually here in Houston. It was at Ellington Field right after we landed, and so it's actually quite a, right after we talked about that landing, and 24 hours later, I'm back here in Houston and reunited with my family.
Did you get your wife flowers?
How about that, huh?
Yeah, I was going to say. or the strange thing that she get you flowers, which nice. I like your style.
Well,
genius.
Just landed and suddenly you got a bouquet of red roses.
Hopefully you didn't watch the ceremony in Karaganda where maybe those flowers were handed to me.
Because this is what happens. You have a ceremony in Kazakhstan when you land, right?
That's right. Yeah, when we landed there and we got back to the airport. There was a very nice ceremony there that the 3 of us got to participate in.
Listen, I want to get through a couple of tweets here as well. Robert tweeted in, what's the feeling like when you're on a spacewalk? I know we're going to talk about that in a minute. But.
It's hard to describe. It's a bundle of emotions, and it's probably one of the most intense things that I've ever done, because on one hand you're excited, there's just incredible views. On the other hand, you're worried because you don't want to mess up. Here you're trying to fix this very expensive orbiting laboratory, And so, you know, there's a little bit of pressure there, and so you don't want to lose a tool or you know, mess up with a bolt or something like that. So it can be very, you know, intense.
And Archie tweeted, what advice, this is a great question, what advice would you give a 15-year-old guy or girl whose ambition is to be an astronaut?
I think the best advice that you can give them is to find something they're passionate about. And of course, the sciences, the engineering, technology, those are going to be important. Study those in school, but find something you just love to do and be passionate about. Okay. And then keep applying. Sometimes it takes time and you have to be patient, but then if it doesn't work out, you've got something that you love to do.
Okay. Well, listen, I know lots of you have been taking part in an online game which mimics microgravity, but and this is great, the astronauts have taken it and are playing it real.
3 shots each. A clean pass through the hoop is worth 2 points. If it hits the hoop and goes through, it's worth 1 point. If it doesn't go through, it's worth 0.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh!
Oh! Ah.
Oh!
Oh! Sudden death. Go. Nice.
Yeah! 1 point. Hit the rim.
1 point.
Oh, he's in. He wins.
He wins, that's right.
What are you guys doing up there? Oh, that looks great.
Yeah, that was a bunch of fun. I don't know if you noticed the little drill that we had on the side that was causing everything to
That's
turn.
some real engineering right there. That's what they're doing up there. Figuring out how to do that in space isn't easy.
Yeah.
All right, now on the serious side, before Christmas, you had to go on that unexpected emergency spacewalk to repair a failed cooling pump. This was the first one you ever did, right?
That's right.
Okay,
yeah.
let's take a look.
Text here. I'm debating whether to do these in the arm. See the G-Tex okay, Mike? I can't see the G-Tex.
Well, Mass, you were one of his trainers, so yeah, you.
All right, let's be clear. This man knew what he was doing. I got to be an instructor. I was telling him I was an instructor for one of your runs. You probably remember with the skills program. I think it was you and Kimya. Who was in there with you? Maybe Kimya.
Might have been Takuya.
Takuya. Okay,
yeah.
so when I got a chance to watch Mike in the pool, and this was early on in his training, I'm supposed to do a little evaluation, and you can tell there are just a couple astronauts, and let me be clear, I'm not one of them, who take very easily to the whole style and the ability to do a spacewalk. And Mike was one of them, one of the best I've ever seen, just a natural at it. So when people ask me, what was going to happen to the space station, between Mastracchio, his background and experience, and Mike's ability, the space station was in great hands.
Well, well, we need a grade. I mean, what?
He got the highest grades, and I'm not making this up. To me, it was really, truly exceptional spacewalk. I'm glad he got a chance to do it, and hope he get a chance to do a couple more.
Mike, thanks for joining us. What happens now? What happens now for you? What do you do as an astronaut?
It's time to be a husband and a dad again. So I need to get back integrated with the family. But also the rehab. So it's, despite, feeling pretty good, there's still a lot of conditioning to go, a lot of medical experiments that, I was up there for 6 months, and we want to know how I adapt back to 1G again. Because, again, if we're going to go out into the universe, go out to Mars or something like that, and somebody spends a year getting there, how are they going to perform when they land on Mars? So
it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much.
Same.
I should applaud you or something.
Absolutely.
The crew of the ISS have come from many countries, Japan, Canada, Sweden, Italy, a lot from Italy. The Netherlands, to name just a few, but so far there have been no official British astronauts. That is about to change next year because Tim Peake from the hotbed of space fanaticism, Chichester in Sussex, will be boarding the ISS as the first British astronaut to go up there. We caught up with him recently during his training here in Houston. Tim blasted the space station in November 2015. Until then, he has a hectic schedule split between here, the Johnson Space Center, Houston, and Star City in Moscow.
Hello. Thanks very much. When you get assigned to a mission, you actually get issued with a gold badge that actually says astronaut on it. So that's one of the nice things about being assigned to a mission.
To prepare for the psychological demands for his 6-month mission, Tim has already undergone isolation training in an Italian cave system and spent 12 days undersea off the Florida coast at NASA's Extreme Environmental Missions Operation to develop techniques for future asteroid exploration.
The right stuff has changed over the years, and that now involves getting on very well as a crew in a confined space for a long duration of time, and becoming more involved in the research and the scientific aspects of the mission as well.
As part of his technical training, Tim has boarded a plane, climbed thousands of feet into the air and plummeted back to Earth to get his first taste of zero-G. And here in Houston's Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory, the world's biggest swimming pool, he learned how to spacewalk on replica segments of the ISS.
It's very, very physically demanding, very mentally demanding too, maintaining that level of concentration and physical exertion for 6 hours.
It's also essential Tim knows his way around the inside of his future workplace. So here in Houston, there's a full-scale mock-up.
This is a fantastic training facility for really giving us a feel of the hardware that we're going to be using. This is the amount of personal space you have available to you throughout your 6-month mission. The daily commute is from the crew quarters here in Node 2 through to the office in Columbus, the European laboratory. I do have to pinch myself on occasion. You know, life here can become very ordinary, and you suddenly do have to stop and think about what you're doing in the grand scheme of things is very extraordinary. It's just a fantastic journey, and I treasure every moment of it.
And we can go live. I hope we can go live. We've gone live to the ISS. I sincerely hope we can go live to Star City outside Moscow and Tim Peake now. Hello, Tim.
Hello, Dermot. Hello, Mike, and good morning from Moscow.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Just thank you for being there. So, Tim, how's the training going?
It's really fantastic. I'm over here at the moment learning about the Russian segment of the International Space Station, and also doing some training on the Soyuz spacecraft as well, so really enjoying it.
Well, what stage are you at the moment?
Well, I'm still 1.5 years away from flight, and so at the moment it's really learning about the systems on board the space station, the maintenance activities, robotic arm training, spacewalk training, and as we get closer to launch, that's when the science training will really kick in.
And did you have any idea when you first signed up for this, how long, or when you actually first put your name down for it, how long and hard and intricate the training would be?
Yes, I did. I didn't go into this blindly, and actually I've been extremely fortunate to be assigned to a mission so soon after basic training. I think on average astronauts wait up to about 10 years prior to their first flight, and all of the European Space Agency astronauts that I signed up to, my class of 2009, we've all been extremely fortunate.
Now, I know the interest back home is certainly going to ramp up as I guess as the launch date looms, but what's it been like at home?
Yeah, it's wonderful. Unfortunately, I don't get enough time back in the UK because, as you mentioned, all of our training is overseas in Japan, in Canada, in Russia, and now my home base is Houston. But when I do go back to the UK, I always get a wonderful reception. And I just think that the atmosphere in the UK regarding space at the moment is really exciting. It's come on leaps and bounds in the last few years, and we've got a really exciting future ahead.
And Tim, listen, thanks so much for joining us. Very briefly, what are you most looking forward to?
It has to be the view from the cupola back on Earth, without a doubt.
Excellent. Listen, best of luck with everything. It's been great to talk to you. Thank you so much.
See you, Tim.
Thank you very much. Good night, Mike. Good night, Dermot.
Bye. He's polite. See, that's what a British astronaut
guy,
sounds
man.
like.
He's an awesome guy. Yeah, we love having him around. He's just a terrific guy. Thanks for sending him.
You're welcome. Look after him. We've seen some dangers associated going into space. And given that we've barely started exploring, it's fair to assume as the exploration continues, the dangers will become even greater. So, why are astronauts today taking such risks? It's all preparation for something even more challenging.
If the future of humankind means living on another planet, our close neighbor Mars has got to be a good starting point.
It's a huge challenge for us, but it's not so overwhelming that we couldn't get there and then still return.
This is no pipe dream. The engines, rocket bodies, and abort systems to make this journey to Mars and back are being built and tested by NASA right now. And here is a preview of the Space Launch System, or SLS, scheduled for its first test flight in 2017.
7, 6.
It'll be the most powerful rocket in history, designed like the shuttle to take huge payloads into orbit.
Liftoff.
It's about as tall as the Statue of Liberty, and it can launch 130 metric tons.
Atop SLS will sit a crew capsule called Orion. It can carry up to 4 astronauts out into our solar system. But before going to Mars, NASA needs to test Orion's capabilities. The plans to do this are mind-blowing. First, a robotic spacecraft will capture an asteroid and bring it into an orbit around the Moon to make it more accessible from Earth. Next, Orion will arrive from Earth to dock with the robotic spacecraft and asteroid. Then, astronauts will leave the Orion capsule and perform a spacewalk to collect samples from the asteroid, before finally returning to Earth aboard Orion.
This is kind of our proving ground to build those next series of concepts and techniques and hardware that will be needed to go to Mars.
Much of what happens on the space station today lays the groundwork for a future when NASA is ready to transport us to other worlds.
So when we're ready to break that tie with the home planet and become independent of the Earth, we better have learned all those lessons from space station. This is not the beginning of the end. This is really the beginning of a new bright horizon.
And then the jet's full on the wire tie. I've got another jet full on the front.
What are you doing? You're supposed to be keeping asteroids away from us.
That's what I thought. No, this is I think really you're going to do it very carefully. So they don't,
but what an extraordinary thing to do. There's like capture
it is pretty amazing. It combines a few things. It combines the ability to get to the asteroid, understand what they're made of, and give us a chance to use the Space Launch System and Orion to go there to get out of low Earth orbit. This is going to be huge. It's going to be the first time we've been out of
from Earth, I suppose. Could you?
No. So you want this is the first time we will have been with people beyond low Earth orbit since we went to the Moon. So this is huge, and as Bill Gerstenmaier said, combining the knowledge we're gaining on the space station with this mission will give us a lot of the tools we're going to need to go to Mars.
For many, the exploration of space is the single most important thing we humans are doing at the moment. Take a look.
Our planet is an old world, threatened with an ever-expanding population and finite resources. Exploration is a part of the human condition. It is wrapped up in our DNA, and for good reason. As a species, we search out new worlds to live in, if the old is threatened. If our species is to survive the next 100 years, let alone 1,000, it is imperative we voyage out into the blackness of space to colonize new worlds across the cosmos. The ISS is pioneering space exploration. Without this knowledge, travel into deep space is impossible. This is an incredible time to be human and reaching for the stars. Our technical know-how is breathtaking, our ambition is amazing, our cosmic goals are in reach. Within 50 years, I have no doubt, there will be settlements on the Moon. And by the end of the century, I truly hope, humans will be living on Mars. If we follow this path, I have no doubt that this century will go down in the history of humankind as the true space age. I think the work Rick and Koichi are doing on the ISS will take a new generation of human space explorers out into our solar system and beyond.
Mike, what do astronauts do? Can astronauts even think like that, that you're the custodians of the future and you're out there, or do you have to concentrate on the small, the micro, the minutiae?
Well, we do have, the little jobs lead up to the big picture, but I think we feel really lucky and privileged. There's a big team here that you see behind us. There's thousands of people working in a space program. There's, lots of people around the world. And we're the fortunate ones, we're the privileged ones that actually get to go. And with that, I think comes, we feel like a responsibility that we have to do the best job we can to represent the rest of the world.
And just very briefly, as an astronaut, do you think it's in our DNA that we explore? That's what
absolutely,
do.
Absolutely. I think that's why we're going to keep going. I think that's why the future is going to be really bright. Because even if someone said you can't go, that's going to be the person in the minority. Because the whole planet wants to go, and we're going to keep going.
Listen, man, thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a
today.
pleasure, man.
Really
What a
enjoyed
blast.
it, and it's just been great to get your insights with Lap the Planet, so thank you so much.
I've had a great time.
And thank you so much, everyone. It's been absolutely incredible. Thanks to NASA for opening their doors to us. Thanks to Mike. Thank you for joining us on our live Lap of the Planet. We've seen our world and what these brave men and women do in a completely different light. It's been out of this world. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.